Imagine waking up one morning in Beirut,
Yeah.
but it's 1983.
Okay.
The sun's just coming up,
Right.
and then suddenly
Uh,
a deafening explosion just rips through the city.
oh, wow.
It reduces a U.S. Marine barracks to rubble.
Oh, my gosh.
241 American servicemen
Yeah.
lose their lives.
In an instant.
Yeah, just like that.
It's hard to even imagine.
It was a terrifying moment.
Right.
Really the arrival of Hezbollah
Yeah.
on the world stage.
On the world stage.
That's what we're diving deep into today.
Hezbollah.
The complex history.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story.
We're going to explore how this group,
Okay.
born out of Lebanon's really tumultuous past,
Right.
rose to become this powerful political and military force.
It really is incredible.
And they wield influence in Lebanon
Mm-hmm.
and across the Middle East.
Absolutely.
So to really get Hezbollah,
Yeah,
you have to get Lebanon,
you got it.
this nation that's
Yeah.
wresling with its identity
Absolutely
in
caught.
between.
East and West.
Yeah.
Totally.
And, burdened by this history of sectarian tensions.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
So let's rewind.
Okay.
Back to the 1970s.
Right.
Lebanon's a powder keg ready to explode.
You feel it.
You've got
Yeah.
Maronite Christians,
Mm-hmm.
Sunni Muslims,
Yep.
Shia Muslims,
Right.
all vying for power
Of course.
in a system that's failing to represent them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And a key factor in this tension
Okay.
was the quota system.
The quota system.
Yeah, established back in 1932.
Wow, so long ago.
The idea was to ensure representation
Okay.
for each religious group in the government.
Makes sense.
But the demographics,
Right.
they were outdated.
Yeah, that's going to cause problems.
So by the 1970s,
Mm.
the Shia population
Yeah.
had grown significantly,
Right.
but their political power,
It didn't keep up.
it was stagnant.
That's a recipe for unrest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this system meant to promote balance
Mm.
ended up fueling resentment.
Especially.
Yeah, particularly among the Shia community.
Right. They felt left out.
Yeah, they felt like second-class citizens
Exactly.
in their own country.
It's understandable why they were frustrated.
And then you add in the economic disparity
Oh, yeah.
between this booming cosmopolitan Beirut
Right.
and then impoverished Shia villages.
It just adds fuel to the fire.
And it intensified the discontent.
Absolutely.
And then 1975,
Okay.
an attack on a bus.
A bus.
Yeah, carrying Palestinians
Mm.
through a Christian neighborhood in Beirut.
Oh, boy.
This was carried out by the Falange.
The Falange.
Yeah, a right-wing Christian militia.
Right.
27 Palestinians were killed.
Oh, that's awful.
And this triggered the eruption of the Lebanese Civil War.
Wow. So this was the spark.
It was the spark.
I see.
But it's crucial to remember
Okay.
that Lebanon was already hosting
Yeah.
this huge Palestinian refugee population
Right. I forgot about that.
and the presence of the Palestine Liberation Organization.
PLO. With their own armed militants.
Exactly.
That's going to cause tension.
It did. It was a source of tension for sure.
So it wasn't just about religion then. You
Oh,
had
yeah.
these external actors, like
Yeah.
the PLO, complicating things?
Exactly.
Wow.
And their presence was a point of contention
Okay.
for various Lebanese factions.
I could see that.
And then this bus attack
Right.
unleashed years of pent-up resentment
Pent-up resentment.
and this vying for control.
Yeah.
And suddenly,
Right.
it wasn't just Christian versus Muslim.
Right.
It was neighbor against neighbor.
Oh, wow.
Alliances were constantly shifting.
It sounds like total chaos.
It was chaotic.
Yeah.
It was a free-for-all.
And then
you know.
external forces
External forces.
saw an opportunity to get involved.
Exactly. They saw an opportunity to advance their own agendas.
Oh, boy. This is where things get really messy.
They do.
Yeah.
This is where the Civil War turns into a proxy war.
A proxy war.
Yeah. I see.
Right.
So you've got Israel
Right.
wary of the PLO's growing influence,
Right.
supporting Christian militias.
Mhm.
And then you've got Iran, fresh from its own Islamic revolution in 1979.
Yeah, 1979 was a big year.
It was a huge year.
Yeah.
And they saw a chance to export their ideology
Right.
and bolster the Shia community in Lebanon.
So both sides are using Lebanon for their own purposes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then in 1982,
Okay.
Israel launches a full-scale invasion of Lebanon,
A full-scale invasion.
yeah, aiming to dismantle the PLO.
So they're taking things up a notch.
They are.
Wow.
And this created the perfect opportunity for Iran.
To intervene directly.
Exactly.
Wow. So we've got sectarian conflict,
Mm-hmm.
external meddling,
Yep.
and a newly emboldened Iran.
Yeah.
All in this mix.
That's where Hezbollah emerges.
Hezbollah comes out of this.
Yeah, they don't just appear out of thin air. They were
Okay.
formed from the ranks
Okay.
of Lebanese Shia clerics and militants
I see.
who were already disillusioned
Yeah.
with the status quo in Lebanon.
Makes sense.
And they saw in Iran a powerful ally.
A powerful ally.
They found common cause
Yeah.
with Iran's revolutionary zeal,
Okay.
their opposition to Israel and the West,
Mm-hmm.
and this desire to reshape the Middle East.
So shared vision.
A shared vision.
Interesting.
And this, coupled with the practical support
Yeah.
from Iran,
Right.
training,
Mm-hmm.
weapons,
Yeah.
funding.
It all comes together.
It does. Gives birth to Hezbollah,
Hezbollah.
initially known as
Yeah.
the Islamic resistance in Lebanon.
Okay. Islamic resistance in Lebanon.
In their early approach,
Yeah.
it was multifaceted.
Okay.
They weren't just about fighting.
All right.
They were building a movement.
From the ground up.
Yeah, from the ground up.
Oh. They're playing the long game.
They understood
Yeah.
that they needed to win hearts and minds.
Hearts and minds.
So they established a sophisticated communication network to spread their message.
Mhm.
They set up social welfare programs,
Right.
providing essential services.
Filling in the gaps.
Yeah, filling in the gaps left by the Lebanese government.
Okay.
And they actively recruited fighters,
Fighters.
yeah, from within the Shia
So
community.
they're building a base.
They were building a base.
Yeah.
And they were positioning themselves
Says Pearl
protectors of the Shia
I
community.
said physically and socially.
Exactly.
Wow. It's a comprehensive strategy.
It was.
Yeah.
And it resonated with a population that felt marginalized,
Right.
disenfranchised.
Makes sense.
And it allowed Hezbollah to gain support quickly,
Okay.
solidify their presence within Lebanon,
Especially in the South.
especially in the south,
Yeah.
under Israeli occupation.
So they're defenders of Lebanon,
Yeah.
but taking orders from Iran?
It's a complex dynamic.
From the sides.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And this duality,
This duality.
fighting for Lebanon,
Yeah.
but serving as an arm of Iran's regional ambitions,
Right.
would become a defining characteristic of Hezbollah.
A defining characteristic.
It let them tap into Lebanese nationalism
Mm-hmm.
while advancing Iran's agenda.
Playing both sides.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a tough balancing act.
It is.
Yeah.
And then in 1983,
Okay.
the bombing of the U.S. Marine barracks
In Beirut?
in Beirut
Yeah.
shook the world.
It really did.
Hezbollah has always denied it,
Right.
but this attack was a watershed moment.
A watershed moment.
Yeah, it demonstrated their willingness to target
Anyone.
even the most powerful nations.
The most powerful nation.
And it cemented their image
Yeah.
as a force to be reckoned with.
A force to be reckoned with.
And it forced the U.S.
Yeah.
to reassess its involvement in Lebanon. And ultimately,
Back then.
they withdrew American troops.
Wow.
Major victory for Hezbollah.
Yeah.
Solidified their position
Yeah.
as a leading resistance movement.
And we're the underdogs.
They were.
Yeah.
And this David versus Goliath narrative,
David versus Goliath.
Yep.
I love that.
small group of devout fighters,
Right.
challenging superpowers.
Changing superpowers.
It resonated
It resonated.
in Lebanon
Yeah.
and beyond.
Absolutely.
And it contributed to their growing support
Okay.
and legitimacy.
So they're seen as heroes.
They're seen as heroes,
Wow.
especially for those who saw the U.S. presence
Yeah,
as
right.
unwelcome interference.
I'm not going to interference.
And then in 1985,
Okay.
they released an open letter
An open letter.
outlining their goals.
Laying it all out.
They wanted to drive Israel out of Lebanon,
Okay.
eventually eliminate Israel,
Wow.
and liberate Jerusalem.
That's ambitious.
It was a declaration of war,
Yeah.
not just against Israel,
All right.
but against what they perceived as
Yeah.
Western imperialism in the region.
Western imperialism.
It highlighted their commitment to the Palestinian cause,
Okay.
which would become another key element of
Yeah.
their identity
And their appeal.
and their appeal,
Especially in the Arab world.
especially in the Arab world.
Right.
And then there's the Qiyam Detention Center.
The Qiyam Detention Center.
Yeah, run by the South Lebanon Army,
Okay.
an Israeli-backed militia
Hmm.
in southern Lebanon.
Right.
Brutality there.
Brutality.
Allegations of torture,
Oh, that's terrible.
human rights abuses.
Yeah.
This fueled Hezbollah's recruitment efforts.
Of course people would be outraged.
They were outraged.
Yeah.
People saw them as the only ones standing up
To this oppression.
to this oppression.
Wow.
And this detention center became a symbol
It's a symbol.
of
now.
Israeli oppression
Right.
and the failure of the Lebanese government
To protect its own people.
to protect its own people.
So Hezbollah steps in.
They step in.
Wow.
They position themselves as The true defenders of Lebanon,
The true descendants.
willing to fight for the liberation of their land
And their people.
and their people.
Powerful message.
It was. And then in 1992,
Okay.
Hassan Nasrallah
Hassan Nasrallah
takes the helm
takes the helm.
as Hezbollah's leader,
Wow.
and he would profoundly shape the group's future.
Profoundly shaped the group's future.
He was charismatic
Okay.
and a shrewd strategist.
Interesting.
Hezbollah's focus on fighting Israel intensifies,
Under Nasrallah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
and their military capabilities expand significantly.
So he's a game changer?
He's a game changer.
Wow.
He understands the power of symbolism
Okay.
and propaganda,
Propaganda.
and he expertly crafts a narrative
That resonates.
that resonates with both
Ah.
Shia and non-Shia audiences,
So he's broadening their appeal.
broadening their appeal.
Yeah, he sounds very effective.
He was,
Yeah.
and this sets the stage
Oh.
for a pivotal moment in Hezbollah's history,
Okay, what happened?
Israel's withdrawal from southern Lebanon
When was this?
in 2007.
Oh, wow.
2,000
Yes,
years
really.
of conflict,
Right.
mounting casualties
On both sides.
on both sides.
This was a long time coming.
It was,
Yeah.
but it was a defining moment for Hezbollah.
Defining moment
They portrayed it
as
as a David versus Goliath victory,
David versus Goliath.
and it solidified their image as Lebanon's protector.
No, Landon's protector.
They had driven out the mighty Israeli military.
And what a victory.
It was a huge victory for them,
Yeah.
and they exploited this narrative
Okay.
skillfully,
Yeah.
catapulting them to new heights of
Oh.
popularity, influence
In Lebanon,
Lebanon.
and beyond.
across the Arab world.
Across the Arab world.
Wow.
And this victory
Yeah.
became a springboard
For
for their entry into Lebanese politics.
Lebanese politics.
They wanted to translate their military success
Right.
into political power,
Okay.
to formalize their role
In Lebanon's future?
in Lebanon's future.
So, from a guerrilla movement
Mm-hmm.
born out of chaos,
Yeah.
fueled by injustice,
Yeah.
Hezbollah had
So
transformed
he had transformed
into a major
influence
force.
in Lebanese politics.
In Lebanese politics,
Yeah.
a force that would continue to shape the country's destiny
For years to come.
for years to come.
But their journey was far from over.
Far from over.
Yeah.
Their newfound political influence
Yeah.
would bring new challenges,
New challenges.
new controversies,
New controversies.
and new questions about their role in Lebanon and the region.
a story that's still being written today.
It's a story that's still being written today.
Absolutely. Hezbollah's foray into politics, it wasn't, just about rallies and speeches.
Right.
They had a much broader strategy.
Okay.
They were operating on multiple fronts.
Like what?
Well, you've got the military, of course, the political and the social.
So a three-pronged approach.
Exactly.
Okay, so they maintained the armed resistance against Israel.
Right.
They engaged in Lebanon's parliamentary system,
Yep.
and they expanded their social welfare programs.
Especially in Shia communities.
So they were like a militia, a political party,
Uh-huh.
and a social service provider all at the same time.
All at the same time. It's quite a combination.
It is unique,
And it allowed them to build up, a deep well of support.
especially among,
Those who felt neglected by the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They felt ignored.
right,
So Hezbollah provided everything.
like what kinds of things?
Healthcare,
Okay.
education, reconstruction,
Right.
financial aid.
And a lot of this was funded by Iran.
A lot of it was funded by Iran.
A lot of it was funded by Iran, yes.
It's almost like they created a state within a state
Yeah. You get that.
with a level of autonomy
Right.
and influence that went way beyond,
Their official role.
right, their official role in the government.
Exactly.
And of course, this wasn't without controversy.
Of course not, no.
Some saw it as a positive thing,
Right.
filling a void left by a weak state.
Yeah, a weak and often corrupt state.
But others worried about,
Their growing power.
their growing power and unchecked influence. Exactly. And there were allegations
Oh, yeah.
of intimidation,
Yeah.
violence against political opponents,
Concerns about illicit activities.
like drug trafficking.
Yeah, drug trafficking, money laundering.
All of that, yeah.
So this darker side of Hezbollah's activities,
Coupled with their loyalty to Iran.
right, their unwavering loyalty to Iran,
Yeah. Created a lot of unease.
especially among
Those who saw them as a threat.
to Lebanon's sovereignty.
Exactly, to Lebanon's sovereignty and stability.
And then,
Then you have the Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring in 2011,
1911.
a wave of uprisings
Across the Middle East.
across the Middle East demanding democracy and social justice.
Right, demanding change.
And this really challenged Hezbollah's image.
As champions of the oppressed.
Exactly, because here was a movement
Yeah.
challenging authoritarian regimes across the region.
And Hezbollah was in a tough spot
They were in a tough spot.
because of their ties with Iran.
Yeah, their close ties to Iran.
The staunch supporter of Syria's Assad regime.
So they were at odds with these pro-democracy protesters.
They were at odds, yeah.
So how they responded to the Syrian civil war?
Became a real turning point.
A turning point for Hezbollah.
For Hezbollah and for their image.
Yeah, their decision to intervene in Syria in 2012,
2012. Okay.
sending fighters to support the Assad regime.
This was a significant shift.
It was a huge shift.
They were no longer just fighting Israel.
Right.
They were actively involved in a brutal civil war.
And they sided with the regime.
Accused of human rights abuses.
So this decision alienated a lot of their previous supporters.
It did. It really did.
And it raised questions about their true motivations.
Exactly. Like, were they really committed to fighting oppression?
Or was it more selective than that?
That's the question, isn't it?
A lot of Sunni Muslims,
Who had viewed Hezbollah as a symbol of resistance.
right, resistance against Israel,
They were appalled.
appalled by their support for Assad.
For Assad's crackdown on these Sunni-led protests.
It caused divisions within Lebanon, too. Some argued that intervening in Syria was necessary
Right, to protect Lebanon.
from the spillover of the conflict.
From the spillover, yeah.
But others saw it as a dangerous overreach.
An overreach that would drag Lebanon further into this regional quagmire.
And this intervention came at a cost.
It did.
Strained relations,
With segments of Lebanese society.
fueled accusations that Hezbollah was prioritizing Iran's interests.
Over Lebanon's.
And it led to increased international scrutiny.
And sanctions.
So fast forward to today,
Okay.
Lebanon is facing multiple crises.
Economic collapse.
Economic collapse, yeah.
Political instability.
And a lot of disillusionment.
Among the people.
And Hezbollah's position has become increasingly precarious.
They're still powerful.
They are powerful.
They hold a lot of sway in parliament.
Right, and they maintain their military capabilities.
But they're facing mounting pressure.
From within and outside Lebanon,
Yeah, they're caught in the middle.
between their loyalty to Iran,
Right.
their responsibility to the Lebanese people,
Hmm.
and the constant threat from Israel.
It's a tough balancing act.
It is a tough balancing act.
Yeah.
And the economic crisis has hit Lebanon really hard.
Really hard.
And Hezbollah's social welfare programs.
Which were a cornerstone of their support.
Yeah, they've been strained.
They have.
And this has led to growing discontent.
Even within their Shia base.
And then in October 2025,
October 2025.
significant escalation of tensions with Israel.
Oh, yeah.
Following the Hamas-led attacks from Gaza,
Right.
exchange of fire across the border.
A reminder.
Yeah, a reminder of how quickly things can deteriorate.
Exactly how quickly things can change.
Hezbollah had to walk this tightrope.
Trying to respond.
Yeah, respond to Israeli strikes.
But not provoke a full-blown war.
A war that Lebanon couldn't afford.
Right, exactly.
So their rhetoric was defiant,
Okay.
but their actions suggested caution.
So they were trying to be careful.
They recognized that another conflict would be disastrous.
A disaster for Lebanon.
So where does that leave Hezbollah today?
It's a good question.
They've gone from freedom fighters to political players.
And now they're grappling with the weight of their own success,
Mm.
their complex allegiances,
Yeah.
and the enormous challenges facing Lebanon.
It's a lot to deal with.
Hezbollah's story, it's far from over.
Far from over.
It's a story that continues to unfold.
Full of contradictions and complexities.
Exactly.
Hezbollah's journey, it's been anything but straightforward.
It really hasn't.
They've been labeled terrorists.
With some.
Liberators by others.
It's never that simple, is it?
It's more nuanced
Way more nuanced.
than either of those labels suggests.
Exactly.
They're a product of their environment,
I think that's a good way to put it.
shaped by Lebanon's history.
Right.
The conflict with Israel
Of course.
and the regional power dynamic.
All of that, yeah.
To understand Hezbollah, you have to understand
The forces that have shaped the Middle East.
yeah, the forces that have shaped the modern Middle East.
Exactly.
And something that's been constant.
Throughout their evolution.
Yeah, throughout their evolution.
Okay.
Is their commitment to the Palestinian cause.
It's central to their identity.
Yeah, central to their identity right from the start.
And it resonates with a lot of people.
In the Arab world,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's given them legitimacy
And a kind of moral authority.
that goes beyond Lebanon's borders.
For sure.
It's allowed them to forge alliances
With groups and individuals.
who might otherwise be wary of them.
Because of their ties to Iran?
Yeah, their ties to Iran or their religious ideology.
Right, exactly.
But even that commitment has been tested.
In recent years?
Yeah, in recent years, particularly with their
fair.
involvement in the Syrian civil war.
Right, siding with Assad.
Siding with the Assad regime.
Yeah.
A regime accused of brutalizing its own people.
That alienated a lot of people.
A lot of people who saw it as a betrayal.
A betrayal of their values.
And really highlighted that tension.
That dual identity.
Yeah, fighting for the oppressed.
On the one hand,
but also serving Iranian foreign policy. For many, it exposed a pragmatic side.
maybe even a cynical side.
To Hezbollah.
Willing to prioritize alliances over principles.
So, looking ahead,
Yeah.
what are the key questions surrounding Hezbollah?
What challenges do they face?
What role will they play in the future?
Of Lebanon and the region.
Big questions.
Huge question.
How will they navigate Lebanon's current crisis?
Yeah. The country's facing economic ruin,
Political deadlock.
despair.
And Hezbollah has deep roots in Lebanese society.
They do.
And they have considerable influence.
Political and social influence.
They're going to have to make some tough choices.
Tough choices.
Will they prioritize the needs of the Lebanese people,
Even if it means,
challenging their allies in Iran?
right, even if it means breaking with Iran.
Will they continue to prioritize their military?
Even as the country is crumbling.
It's a tough situation.
It is.
And then there's Israel,
Right, the recent exchange of fire.
a reminder that this conflict isn't over.
It's far from over.
Can they deter Israeli aggression?
Without provoking a war.
A war that Lebanon can't afford.
Right, exactly.
The balance of power is delicate.
Very delicate.
Any miscalculation could be devastating.
Absolutely devastating.
Hezbollah's leadership understands this,
They do.
but they're constrained by their ideology,
And their commitment to Palestine.
which makes compromise difficult.
It makes compromise very difficult.
So this deep dive has given you a glimpse,
Into Hezbollah.
a group that really defies easy categorization,
They do?
a force to be reckoned with. A
Absolutely.
major player on the Middle Eastern stage
And their story.
is far from over.
Far from over.
And as you continue to explore this topic,
Yeah.
I encourage you to check out the work of scholars.
Like Kim Goddess.
Matthew Levitt.
Orwa Ajub.
They offer really valuable insights
Into Hezbollah's evolution.
and their role in the region.
It's a complex region.
Their work will help you understand
The nuances.
the potential paths they might take.
Hezbollah's story is a reminder that the Middle East is constantly changing.
History, ideology, power.
All intertwined.
Often in unpredictable ways.
And challenging to unravel.
And that's what we try to do here on the Deep Dive.
We try to help you navigate the complexities of the world.
One fascinating story at a time.
One story at a time.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.